A lot of people in the crypto space are talking right now, and you're probably seeing bold headlines everywhere. XRP is back in conversations, timelines are heating up, and many investors are wondering whether the next major phase for this asset is approaching. Before anything else, it's important to be clear about one thing. This video is not financial advice. This is an educational discussion based on publicly available information, historical trends, market behavior, and personal analysis. Nothing here is a guarantee, and every investment decision carries risk. When people talk about holding a specific amount of XRP by a certain time, what they are usually expressing is not a rule, but a strategy mindset. In crypto communities, numbers often become symbols. They represent positioning, exposure, or long-term belief rather than a promise of outcome. XRP has always been a unique asset in this space, not because of hype, but because of its role in payment infrastructure and cross-border settlement discussions. XRP was designed with a specific purpose in mind. It was never meant to compete with meme coins or speculative tokens driven purely by hype cycles. Its focus has always been speed, liquidity, and efficiency in global payments. That's why it continues to be mentioned in conversations involving banks, institutions, and financial systems. Whether or not that vision fully materializes is still unknown, but the intent behind the technology is clear. One of the biggest reasons XRP remains controversial and interesting at the same time is its history with regulation. Over the years, regulatory uncertainty has had a strong influence on its price movement and public perception. Markets don't like uncertainty, and XRP has lived inside uncertainty for a long time. When uncertainty exists, price action often becomes suppressed or unpredictable. When clarity begins to appear, markets tend to react, sometimes quickly, sometimes gradually. It's also important to understand that price predictions you see online are not facts. They are opinions, scenarios, or models based on assumptions. Numbers like $40, hundreds of dollars, or even higher are usually theoretical calculations based on market capitalization, adoption models, or future utility scenarios. These are not promises. They are thought experiments used to explore possibilities, not outcomes. In traditional finance, asset valuation is often based on revenue, cash flow, or ownership. In crypto, valuation can be influenced by technology, narrative, adoption, speculation, macroeconomic conditions, and regulation all at once. That makes predicting exact prices extremely difficult, even for professionals. Another thing many people misunderstand is timing. Markets do not move according to calendars. They move according to catalysts. A specific month or year does not cause price movement by itself. What matters is what happens around that time. That could include regulatory developments, technological upgrades, partnerships, macroeconomic shifts, or broader market sentiment. When people talk about accumulating or holding a certain amount of XRP, what they are often really saying is that they want exposure without overextending themselves. Responsible investors think in terms of risk management. They consider how much they can afford to lose, how long they are willing to hold, and how crypto fits into their overall financial picture. In the United States especially, financial content must be approached carefully. Viewers deserve transparency. No one should feel pressured into buying, selling, or holding any asset because of a video. Education empowers people to make their own decisions. Hype removes that power. XRP's long-term discussion often centers around utility. If an asset is widely used, demand can increase. If demand increases while supply is limited, price pressure can occur. That's basic economics. But whether widespread usage happens at scale is still an open question. Adoption takes time. Institutions move slowly. Infrastructure changes do not happen overnight. Another factor people often overlook is overall market conditions. Bitcoin still influences the broader crypto market. When Bitcoin is stable, confidence grows. When Bitcoin is volatile, altcoins often experience amplified movements. XRP is not isolated from this reality. There is also the psychological side of investing. Fear and greed drive markets more than logic in many cases. During quiet periods, interest fades. During rallies, attention returns. This cycle has repeated many times across financial history, not just in crypto. For anyone watching this, the smartest approach is education first. Learn how markets work. Understand what you own and why you own it. Avoid making decisions based on headlines or social media pressure. No single asset should define your financial future. Diversification is a concept that exists for a reason. Placing all expectations on one outcome increases emotional stress stress and risk. Long-term strategies are built on patience, not urgency. It's also worth noting that holding an asset does not automatically lead to profit. Timing, discipline, and personal circumstances all matter. Some people may benefit from long-term holding, others may not. Everyone's situation is different. When discussing future scenarios, it's healthy to remain neutral. Optimism is fine, blind certainty is not. Markets reward preparation, not prediction. As crypto continues to mature, regulatory frameworks will likely become clearer. Technology will continue to evolve. Some projects will succeed, others will fade. XRP will follow its own path within that ecosystem. If you're interested in XRP, the best thing you can do is continue researching, read official updates, follow credible sources, understand both the bullish and bearish arguments, make decisions based on logic, not emotion. This video exists to encourage critical thinking, not to create urgency. No deadline controls the market. No fixed number guarantees an outcome. What matters is informed participation and personal responsibility. Crypto remains a high-risk, high-volatility space. That means opportunities exist, but so do losses. Respect both sides of that reality. Whatever happens next, staying educated will always be more valuable than chasing predictions. Markets change, narratives shift, and only those who remain adaptable tend to survive long term. Thank you for watching, and remember, this content is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research and consider speaking with a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions. When people hear strong numbers attached to any crypto asset, the first reaction is usually emotional. Excitement for some, skepticism for others. That reaction itself explains why it's important to slow things down and look at context instead of headlines. Markets reward patience far more often than urgency, and crypto is no exception to that rule. One thing that experienced investors tend to agree on is that conviction comes from understanding, not from prediction. Anyone can throw a number into a title. Very few can explain the reasoning, the assumptions, and the risks behind that number. And even then, those explanations are still theories, not outcomes. XRP's story has always been different from most digital assets. While many projects focus on decentralized apps, NFTs, or social narratives, XRP has stayed closely tied to the idea of payment efficiency. That makes it less exciting during hype cycles, but potentially more relevant during periods where infrastructure and regulation matter more than speculation. Another aspect worth mentioning is time horizon. Short-term traders and long-term holders look at the same asset through completely different lenses. What feels slow and disappointing to one group may look stable and strategic to another. Neither approach is inherently right or wrong. It depends entirely on goals, risk tolerance, and personal financial circumstances. In the United States, financial education often emphasizes planning over prediction. The same principle applies here. Instead of asking where the price will be by a specific month, a better question is whether the underlying thesis still makes sense. Has anything fundamentally changed? Has the technology improved? Has the regulatory environment become clearer or more complex? It's also important to recognize that online narratives can shift quickly. What sounds certain today may be forgotten tomorrow. Algorithms reward strong language, but markets respond to real-world developments. Separating noise from signal is one of the hardest skills to develop as an investor.